textbooks lied. 5,000 years ago, a civilization sprawled across what is now Pakistan and India, larger than ancient Egypt, smarter than Mesopotamia. And you have never heard the full story. Cities with 700 wells, drainage systems that worked better than most modern cities, a script nobody can read, and then, around 1800 BCE, they walked away. No war, no fire, just gone. Where did they go? What forced millions to abandon the most advanced cities on Earth? And why did we get it all wrong? Mohenjo-Daro. These were not villages, they were metropolises, and they built them 2,600 years before Christ walked the Earth. Corbelled arches wide enough to walk through. The whole system gravity-fed. No pumps, just physics. Settling pools, trapped sediment, inspection holes at regular intervals. Workers cleaned them, leaving heaps of greenish-gray sand archaeologists still find. This was 4,500 years ago. Kalibangan, Lothal, Dolavira, all using identical measurements. Rooms open to central courtyards, not streets. Privacy mattered. Even the smallest homes on city edges connected to the drainage system. No slums, no palaces either. The largest structure at Mohenjo-Daro was a granary, not a temple, not a throne room. Food storage, 2 to 3 centimeters per side. Short texts, average 5 symbols. Longest inscription, 26 symbols on a pottery shard. 400 distinct signs identified. Right to left writing direction, proved by symbol compression on the left edge where scribes ran out of room. Tamil Nadu offered $1 million in January 2025 for anyone who deciphers it. Nisha Yadav at Tata Institute of Fundamental Research spent 20 years studying the script. Her conclusion? Not a single sign deciphered yet. By Hiren Solanki and team at Indian Institute of Technology, Gandhinagar, and from the Cell Journal DNA study published September 2019, led by Vasant Shinde at Deccan College. Now back to the information. The Indus River changed course without warning. Walls kept water out, not armies. Fire altars excavated at Rakagari show animal sacrifice. Mud brick pits, triangular and circular altars on mud floors, bodies covered with walls after ritual. Religious? Yes. Violent? No. Shell bangles, steatite seals with unicorn motifs. The cities produced these by the thousands. Standardized weights found across sites: 16, 32, 64, 128. Binary progression, a weight system for commerce, not for war. Nomads with horses and iron weapons swept in, massacred the cities, took over. The theory stuck for decades, but it was wrong. They emptied. Slowly. The mature Harappan phase ran from 2600 to 1900 BCE. After 3,900 years ago, urban areas started shrinking, streets narrowed. Buildings blocked old drains. Standardized weights stopped appearing. The script became rarer. By 1800 BCE, the great cities stood abandoned. And we missed the reason for 100 years. Average annual rainfall dropped 10 to 20%, and 4 major droughts hit between 4,400 and 3,400 years ago. Harappan. The final drought, from 3,531 to 3,418 years ago, lasted 113 years straight. It overlapped with the archaeological evidence of massive urbanization. The summer monsoons that fed the Indus weakened. Winter storms from the Mediterranean brought moisture to Himalayan foothills, but not to the river valley. Agriculture failed in the core cities. Water sources dried up. As droughts worsened, even the river could not sustain millions. The push-pull migration began. Drought pushed them from Indus cities. Reliable water in foothills and eastern plains pulled them toward new lands. Summer monsoons weakened around 2500 BCE, making Indus Valley agriculture impossible. But up in the foothills, winter rains hit the Himalayas, creating streams. Compared to monsoon floods, it was little water, but it was reliable. The Harappans adapted. Amarendra Nath at Archaeological Survey of India led early digs in 1997. Vasant Shinde took over. In 2014, 2 more mounds discovered. The site covered 350 hectares, not the 80 originally thought, bigger than any known Harappan city. A woman, 35 years old, buried 4,600 years ago with jasper beads, agate ornaments, shell bangles, pottery. Her skeleton held enough authentic DNA for analysis. Even with precautions, they found East Asian genetic markers in one sample. Traced it back, one Korean student on the dig team, that sensitive. Her DNA showed ancestry from ancient Iranians and South Asian hunter-gatherers, but 0 steppe-pastoral genes, no R101 gene, no Central Asian markers. Their genetic roots, according to NCERT textbooks updated in 2024 based on Shinde's work, trace back 10,000 years. The civilization did not die, it dispersed. Merchant marks. Rajan at Pondicherry University and R. Sivananthan compared 15,000 pottery shards from Tamil Nadu against 4,000 Indus examples in January 2025. 60% of signs matched, 90% showed parallels. This does not prove Tamil origin. Morphological similarity does not equal linguistic connection, but it proves contact, cultural exchange, or migration routes, south and east. No bilingual text, no Rosetta Stone, 4,000 examples is tiny. Ancient Egyptian has 5 million words. Most Indus inscriptions are 5 symbols, too short for pattern analysis. Without knowing the language, no decipherment method works. The Harappans connected them with reservoir systems along city walls. Storm drains fed tanks during monsoons. The network stored rainwater for dry months. Hydroengineering mastery. Without it, Dolavira could not exist. Extensive brick drain networks, wider drains covered with limestone blocks, small settling pools built into the system, sediment collected. Workers cleared them periodically. Those greenish-gray sand heaps again, evidence of maintenance, urban planning for sustainability. Yet 4,500 years ago, even edge houses in Harappan cities connected to covered sewers. Field Study of the World noted in February 2016 how structures that survived millennia now crumble. Mohenjo-Daro excavations began less than a century ago. In that time, improper restoration, salt from groundwater, looting, and neglect damaged more than 4 millennia of weather. Archaeologists estimate the site may not last another 20 or 30 years. The city's emptied. Why? Climate explains the push, drought, failed agriculture, dried rivers. The pull, better land. The Ganges Plain had monsoon rain. Himalayan foothills had winter streams. Smaller, dispersed farming required no massive infrastructure. No 700 well systems. No 2-meter deep drains. Villages worked better than cities when water was scarce. Sebastian Breitenbach at Northumbria University told Smithsonian in December 2025, the civilization survived so long under repeated climate crises. A lesson for us. Prolonged climatic stress weakens society. Could lead to collapse if not prepared. But the Harappans proved something else. You can transform, reorganize, migrate, survive. Vimal Mishra's climate models published in Communications, Earth, and Environment show sustained river discharge drops. Not just rain, the rivers themselves dried. The Indus system fed everything: agriculture, drinking water, trade routes. When century-long droughts hit, the rivers could not recover. Each drought pushed more people away. By the final 113-year event, the cities had no reason to exist. When climate stress hit there, cities reorganized around different river systems, shifted trade routes, adapted in place. The Harappans did something different. They abandoned the infrastructure, walked away from the greatest urban systems of the Bronze Age because the geography forced it. The Indus Valley had no backup rivers, no alternative water sources. When the drought hit, the land itself became unlivable. But the migration was not chaotic. No mass graves, no sudden abandonment. The process took centuries, generations. Families left gradually, younger ones first, scouting new lands. Older generations stayed until cities thinned too much. The archaeological record shows this. Late period Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa have smaller populations, buildings repurposed, streets narrower, infrastructure decay, not destruction, neglect. The script fading proves it. Writing needs cities, bureaucracy, trade administration, record keeping. In dispersed villages, oral tradition works. No need for stamped seals, no need for weight standards. The knowledge carriers left. The merchants moved to new trade centers. The script users had no audience. Over generations, literacy dropped. By the time Vedic culture arrived with steppe migrations around 1500 BCE, the Harappan script was forgotten. The corbelled drain exiting the Great Bath at Mohenjo-Daro cuts through the so-called granary. John Marshall wrote in 1959 about the elaborate drainage in even the poorest quarters. Every street, every lane had water channels. Brick or stone covers lifted easily for obstruction removal. Some channels were so wide they needed corbelled roofs. The bath itself used gypsum and bitumen for waterproofing, multiple layers. The detail shows intention. This was not utilitarian. It was ritual. Water mattered spiritually, not just practically. The granary at Mohenjo-Daro might be collective or elite-owned. We do not know. The lack of clear hierarchy confuses archaeologists. Who organized the city planning? Who enforced brick standards? Who maintained the drains? Third, no rulers at all. Egalitarian society, everyone equal status. The lack of royal evidence supports this, but absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. The rulers might have left no monuments, or monuments eroded, or we have not found them yet, or at least respect for the dead. The woman with jasper beads was not poor. Quality ornaments, multiple bangles, someone important, or at least comfortable, but not royalty, no gold crowns, no elaborate tomb, just a careful burial with personal items. Equal treatment across burials. Even wealthy individuals got modest interments. This suggests different values. Collective good over individual glory. Without war, resources went to infrastructure, to urban planning, to water management, not to weapons. When water failed, the systems became useless. Maintaining 700 wells makes sense with 40,000 people. With 4,000? Wasteful. Better to move. The population could not recover between events. Crop failures compounded. Trade routes disrupted. The economy that sustained cities broke down. From standardized to regional, The civilization did not end, it metamorphosed. So historians for decades called it collapse, invasion, mystery. Vasant Shinde, who led the excavations, told The Week in December 2024 that all of us are descendants of Harappans. The genetic continuity is clear, the cultural legacy remains. Indian urban planning concepts, water management traditions, craft techniques, all traceable to Harappan roots. The civilization did not vanish, it evolved. But we cannot read their words. The $1 million prize sits unclaimed. Scholars debate Dravidian connections, Indo-Aryan links, proto-languages. AI analyzes patterns. Nothing breaks through. Not philosophy or religion, just business. Excavation is slow. Each season reveals more, but the site is massive. It would take decades to fully explore, and climate does not wait. Organic materials decay. Structures erode. The longer we take, the less remains. The story of the Indus Valley civilization is not just ancient history, it is a lesson. Civilizations adapt or die. The Harappans adapted, they survived, but their cities did not. You move or you die. The Indus Valley civilization never vanished. It fractured, dispersed, transformed into something else. The cities vanished, the people did not. And that is the revelation the last 5 years of research confirmed. Everything points to the same conclusion. Prolonged drought, indigenous population, gradual migration, cultural continuity. But inevitably, we are studying our own ancestors adapting to environmental collapse. They succeeded. The population continued. The genes persisted. But the cities, the script, the unified culture, all gone. Adaptation sometimes means sacrifice. The Harappans sacrificed their urban identity to survive. 3.5 square kilometers being dug. More burials means more DNA potential, more context, more evidence. If even one more sample yields authentic DNA like burial 60, it confirms or refines the story. If 10 samples yield DNA, we get population genetics, diversity, migration patterns, everything changes. 350 hectares, 11 mounds, most untouched. What lies under Mound 5, occupied by Rakishapur village? What sits in the unexcavated sections of Mounds 4, 6, 8, 9? Each shovel of earth could hold seals, tablets, more burials. The next discovery might crack the script, or prove the script is uncrackable. Either way, we learn. It was ordinary. Cities built by people solving problems, drainage for sanitation, wells for water, walls for floods, trade for wealth, writing for administration. When problems became unsolvable, they left. That is not mystery, that is survival. We made it mysterious by expecting drama, invasion, plague, catastrophe. The real story is harder. Drought, migration, slow decline, adaptation, less dramatic, more human. The granaries reveal economic sophistication. At Rakhigarhi, excavators found a mud brick granary with 7 rectangular chambers, rammed earth floors plastered with mud, traces of lime, decomposed grain evidence. This was not household storage, too large, either public or elite-owned. The chambers protected grain from moisture and pests. Elevation kept floods out. The design shows agricultural surplus management. You need surplus to sustain 40,000 urban residents who do not farm. The weights made commerce possible, fair exchange, no disputes over quantity, trust built into mathematics. Full-time occupations, neighborhoods specialized, one area for potters, another for metalworkers, another for bead makers, organization without obvious organizers. When cities thrived, pottery workshops mass-produced standard forms. When populations dispersed, local styles emerged. The ceramic chronology maps the civilization's transformation. This was not invasion, it was decay from reduced population. When 40,000 people live in a city, maintaining infrastructure makes sense. When 4,000 remain, nobody fixes drains. Buildings fall into disrepair. Eventually, abandonment. Other settlements like Kalibangan, further from reliable water, emptied earlier. The drought did not hit uniformly. Some regions suffered more. Some populations left sooner. The civilization's end was regional, staggered, complex, repeated across time. Religious traditions passed down through generations. Even as cities declined, ritual remained. This suggests the belief system was fundamental, not dependent on urban infrastructure. This implies either no external threats or defensive strategies we do not recognize. Maybe the civilization's strength was economic. Trade made war unprofitable. Or maybe geographic isolation protected them. The Indus Valley was remote from other major powers until late Bronze Age. By the time steppe migrations arrived, the cities were already emptying. Mesopotamian archives mention Meluha merchants, Dilmun intermediaries, maritime trade routes through Persian Gulf. Harappan seals found at Ur prove contact. But the trade was not just luxury goods. Timber from Himalayan forests, cotton textiles, earliest evidence of cotton cultivation, copper from Rajasthan. The Harappans controlled resources other civilizations needed. This gave them economic power without military dominance. The Great Bath at Mohenjo-Daro remains enigmatic, 12 meters by 7 meters, 2.4 meters deep, waterproofed with gypsum and bitumen, steps on north and south sides, rooms surrounding the pool. This was not just bathing, too elaborate, too central. Religious ritual makes sense, purification ceremonies, public gatherings. The bath sits on the Citadel Mound, highest point in the city, visible, important. But no inscriptions explain its purpose, no art depicts its use. We infer from structure. This level of domestic sanitation did not return to the region for millennia. Roman aqueducts get the fame, but Harappan indoor plumbing came first. Agriculture and animal husbandry combined with gathered foods. Nutritionally complete. The population was healthy. Skeletal analysis shows average male height 175.8 centimeters. Tall for the period. Good nutrition matters. Childhood was recognized as distinct life stage. Not just small workers. The toys are detailed. Bulls with humps, birds with beaks, dogs, elephants. This shows observation skills passed to children. Learn animals by playing with models. Educational and entertaining. Storm water harvesting. The reservoirs held enough water for dry season. One reservoir measured 73 meters by 29 meters, 7 meters deep, cut into bedrock, lined with stone. This was massive engineering, moving thousands of cubic meters of earth and rock for water security. The only monumental inscription found. Why here? Why so large? Max Pollard's 2025 interpretation suggests cart assembly instructions. Practical. But that feels wrong for a city gate. More likely a name, a declaration, a warning. Without decipherment, we project meaning. Connected to ancient Sabarmati river course. Ships could enter at high tide, offload cargo, exit at next tide. The engineering required understanding tides, calculating water levels, building locks. This was not accidental. The Harappans were sailors. The Arabian Sea was their highway. Trade with Mesopotamia required navigation, weather knowledge, shipbuilding skills. Every merchant needed identity markers. Seals stamped into clay created tamper-proof containers. Break the seal, you knew someone opened it. The iconography plus text gave dual verification. Unicorn symbol identified region, or merchant guild. Text gave specific owner. The system worked without literacy. You recognize your seal design. Compare the impression. Text is backup for disputes. Clever system for semi-literate society. But some seals show no text, just images. This complicates language theories. Were images sufficient alone? Or do imageless seals serve different functions? Amulets, perhaps. Not commercial. Personal. The distinction matters. If seals had multiple uses, the script might too. Commercial on some, religious on others, personal on others. Context determines meaning. Local pottery traditions, different brick sizes. Seal styles vary. This shows decentralization. Without strong central authority or cultural exchange, regions diverged. The shared Harappan identity weakened. New identities emerged. Post-urban cultures carried some Harappan elements but developed independently. The Ganges civilization that arose later shows connections but is distinct. Cemetery H culture, ochre-colored pottery culture, painted grayware culture, successors, not continuations. The Harappan bronze tools were functional, sharp, durable. This was not primitive metallurgy. Their problem was water. Others say the river dried after the cities emptied. Dating is hard. Sediment analysis continues. The truth probably combines both. River weakening made cities vulnerable. Drought finished them. Better to farm productive land than maintain empty cities. The Harappans were practical. When the math changed, they adapted. The implications are significant. The Harappans were not imitating anyone. They invented their urban model independently. Their solutions to city living were original. Every house connected to drainage, not just for waste, but for rainwater. The system handled both functions. Elegant solution. But it only works if maintained. Once population drops, drains clog. System fails. Infrastructure requires people. Monuments proclaim power. Granaries ensure survival. Baths promote health. The Harappans chose function over display. Or maybe their monuments eroded. Mud brick does not last like stone. Egyptian monuments survived because stone endures. Harappan monuments, if they existed, might have washed away. Healthy enough to reach Middle Age and Bronze Age. Wore quality jewelry, buried with care. Her DNA tells us her ancestry was local. Her grave goods tell us she had wealth. Her bones tell us she ate well. She was not royalty, but was comfortable. Middle class, if that concept applies. And she represents millions of Harappans who lived, worked, raised families, died, and left no individual records, but whose collective DNA persists in modern populations. Culture changes, but biology continues. The Harappans had no need to maintain writing in dispersed villages. Practical choice, not cognitive failure. We can adapt, but adaptation might mean abandoning places, systems, ways of life. The Harappans show us that is possible. You can survive the end of your world. Your descendants thrive, but the world you knew is gone. Not invasion, not plague, Not mysterious disappearance, just humans doing what humans do: build, thrive, adapt, move, survive, and leave traces for archaeologists to misinterpret for a century before getting it right. We looked at empty cities and assumed death. We should have looked at the villages downstream and recognized life.